This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey everyone, I'm your host Jason Glick.
Hey Glick, what's going on? You're the podcast namesake. What's going
Yes.
on? What do you have on tap for us tonight?
Okay, well, it's like we've got the one that I wanted to talk about last time. It's like, but we're gonna do it now, and this is No One Left to Fight 2. It's like, unfortunately, like Rob couldn't join us for reasons like real life consequence. But the good news is, hey, Myron's here. Hey Myron, how you doing?
Good, Jason. John, how you guys doing tonight?
Pretty great, man.
Fantastico.
Thanks for having me on for this one.
Yeah, it's like God knows I need your input here because as someone who is a long time fan of Dragon Ball, it's like, well, we need your perspective on this because, well, I mean, like the shorthand for this series is it's basically American Dragon Ball, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm loving it.
Yeah,
it. Definite love letter to that type of genre.
indeed. It's like, and it's like rereading the first volume like for this. It's like it's like I gotta admit, it's like I was feeling more affection towards it in the sense that after reading the second one and seeing how it goes, it's like it's like you get it. It's like it does a good job of setting things up and like positioning these two volumes as well, not really one complete saga, but like good decent storyline. And also it's like it's like even though it's like the first volume kind of set us up the mystery of like, oh, what's happening to not Goku, Vale. It's like, and the mystery of what's going on with him here. It's like, they answer that in volume 2, but I think that like these two volumes, like rereading them together, this is more like Timor or like not Vegeta's story. It's like than anything else, because it's like yeah, it's like Valley gets the big entrance. He's established as the big hero, the one who saved everyone. But Timor is a guy who's kind of had like to struggle like in this guy's shadow. I mean, yeah, he helped. We're told, or at least is implied that he made like that he helped make like a lot of Vale's successes possible. But in the end, like he's never really gotten quite the recognition that well he thinks he deserves. But this is inside the fact that he got the girl, he got the family, he got the good life and all. It's like so he should be happy with this, but because he's the angry guy who just can't just can't be happy with what he has. It's like he's just got to find a way to like one up things with Vale, or just like find a way to settle things once and for all. I mean, how do you you have any new thoughts about like first volume or anything you want to like restate about that?
Well, not necessarily the first volume, but in this volume, as you said, like it focuses a lot on Timor, his backstory, and how he trained. And I see again, from our last conversation and something you hit on the head earlier, I see a lot more parallels between Goku and Vegeta with these characters, in which Goku and Vegeta are both the most powerful characters within the Dragon Ball storyline, and they both come from a powerful race and go through rigorous training. With Timor, I feel like he's in that Vegeta seat where he always seems to be chasing. He always seems to be chasing Goku, like the main character's strength, Vale, or Vegeta chasing Goku's strength, and it always seems to frustrate him on how easier it comes to him than he did. Like Timor seems to have to work that much harder, where for Vale it seems to come more effortlessly. And yeah, as you said, Timor got the girl and he's got a good life and he's got things that Vale doesn't have, especially the most important thing that he wants. Yet he's not satisfied with that. Like he wants to be recognized equally as not only a warrior, but his involvement in saving the world. And you see him chasing approval from dad and even from his master.
Oh, Riella.
Yeah, thank you, Mistress Rielda. Like this one we get, I don't want to say he's a bitch, but I'm just saying like in this volume we see just how frustrated he is that he always seems to have to try so much more harder to reach that level, yet he doesn't get recognized for it as easily as Vale does.
Yeah, it's like, and one thing I liked about, like you're rereading, like, both of these, like, in one go, is that you realize how his wife Krysta is like, she really does a good job of like mediating a lot of this. I mean, like
Oh yeah.
at first in the first volume, it kind of seems like she's really just, maybe just like saying, oh, like this is all he has. So can't you be nice for him? It's like she's just kind of like placating him. But when you get to the second volume, it's like you really get the feeling. It really shows that she really does love him. It's like, and like she does stand up for him. Like when she basically like calls out Vale, saying, "Yeah, I know what you're doing here with the touches and like and the long talks." Like, no, I chose. It's like I chose Timor, not you. And when Timor basically tells Vale, it's like, yeah, she loves you, but she loves you like a brother. It's like it's. I mean, it's like I like this. They spell that out there. It's like, and I like seeing Timor and Krysta team up against the Hierophant, like it's like later in this. It's like later in this volume. That was a nice moment. It's like moment there, and also yeah, and also with Dad, or like it's like Krista's I'm guessing I guess I'm going to assume that he's basically like he used to be a human guy, but he put his brain into a robot.
That's what I presumed. That's what I presumed as well. They never really explained it, but makes logical sense.
Yeah, it's like, and that was a nice, like, I think that was a nice one, like storyline there. This is like one issue, but it sold the whole, like, oh, Timor is just kind of wanting to improve himself to Dad, but Dad is just kind of like just like brushing him off, up until the point that, oh my God, Timor actually does just that, and Dad is like, oh my God, it's like, you're like, I can't believe the control you displayed right there when like like when fighting. And this is like a scene where they're fighting in they all like Timor, Krysta, and Dad have all shrunk down to go inside Vale's body to find out just what exactly is killing him. It's like, and it's like, and Timor actually like steps up and like allows Dad to find the data that he needs in order to find out that, well, turns out that I was wrong, and that Vale is not fighting against super Alzheimer's disease. He just powered up too hard that one time when he was like going to throw that not spirit bomb, and that's basically what's killing him right now. So like he's like basically Vale is like it's still like that kind of like, it's still like a something that you couldn't do in Dragon Ball. It's like in the sense that Goku is like finding like his quest for ultimate power is ultimately what's killing him. So that's that. So like that's still kind of interesting. But I still kind of would like to have seen like the whole not Goku fight not Alzheimer's. It's like
right
in the end. So
what? Yeah, I mean, I thought that was such a nice moment as well, because like I can already tell from the moment they go to Dad Industries, and the way Timor was interacting and responding to Dad's negligence of him, because like Dad would always say, oh, Vale, my boy, welcome, and shower him and show this admiration towards him, whereas, dude, I'm married to your daughter, I'm your son-in-law, and you show me no type of like
I've given you grandkids, you bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like showing him no type of respect or recognition, and then always just kind of downplaying any type of response that he has. And it's like, oh, I can see here, like he's got that kind of like complex now, just because like he's just as equally as strong and powerful, yet he doesn't get recognized for it. So once they go inside Vale, I thought he was going to do something like way more extreme, to where he was going to mess up the situation. However, we actually do see that Timor can control himself in certain missions and certain aspects, and he is just as he
stepped up here.
Yeah, he stepped up here. He's just as strong and a calculating warrior as Vale. He just has a different style to it, and we get to see that when he goes and visits his master, his mistress, which she has a totally raw and like more of a raw training regiment and fighting style, and that is very reminiscent of Dragon Ball, and very reminiscent of how Vegeta trains, because he trains more on emotion, like digging deep in the wells of anger and rage. And I do remember in Dragon Ball, like when Goku first went Super Saiyan, and Vegeta went Super Saiyan, like there was always that emotional trigger, but then there kind of comes a point where they can activate their power and do it effortlessly. And I'm kind of seeing that here parallel with Timor, where like, yeah, in the beginnings, like this is how he had to, this is what he was taught. He had to quell within that rage and quell within that emotion for his awakening. And we see how that's a totally different style than what Vale was trained on, and he struggled with it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that was actually kind of interesting. It's the one part of this film I wish they had gotten more into. Just the idea that, when Rielda takes Vale on this awakening, and she's like, it's the implication is like we're left with the implication that she could have that what she was doing here could have saved Vale, but Vale, it's like just did not want any part of it. Like this tapping into his rage, his resentment is not something that he wanted. And it's like, that's kind of interesting in the sense that she basically tells him like, yes, like the people who like you saved all these people, and yet they're not coming to help you in this time, like in your time of need. How does that make you feel? It's like, like I said, it's not the kind of thing I imagine it's not the kind of thing that Dragon Ball would necessarily tap into. Because Goku is ultimately like a very selfless hero. Am I wrong here? Or
yeah, he is. He is a selfless hero. It's just that they too thirst to become stronger. It's just that Goku has more of like an innocent like way of looking at it, where like I want to fight because it's fun, but ultimately that's just the Saiyan nature, where they want to fight to get stronger, and when they survive like near death battles, they get strong and recover from it. They get stronger based off that. So Goku kind of has like a pure innocent way of like the way he approaches to his love and nature of fighting, whereas Vegeta is just kind of pure, be more powerful and more arrogant, just because he's the prince of the Saiyan race, and because he is the top of the hierarchy, he should be the strongest, and he's classified as a quote unquote elite, whereas Goku's like, actually when Goku was born, he was like considered trash. Like he's like a low level Saiyan. We'll send them to Earth because that'll be easy for him to like take over. That's how weak he is. Mm-hmm. But based off the way I see the parallels where like Goku trained from a master actually named Gohan, that was his grandfather, before he actually trained with Master Roshi. And the way Goku's like good nature training that's similar to how I see Vale's training with Harga. The old lady seems mm-hmm. to be a little bit more carefree. I mean, I shouldn't say that, not carefree, but a little bit more in tune with the spirit and the soul and with nature. Whereas, Lady Rielda's training is more akin to just digging into the rage and, mm-hmm. Releasing your anger and awakening that anger to fuel your strength. And that's how Vegeta was always taught as well.
Yeah, that's interesting because the different. I mean, where Harga basically says in the first volume that no, it's like I didn't push you too hard, Vale. Like Timor, I didn't push hard enough.
Yeah,
yeah, and also I like what what Timor has to give up in order to get Rielda to to agree to help Vale. Like she's. I mean, it's not the whole. It's not like, oh, you need to give me your firstborn child. It's like, no, you just have to not stand in her way when she comes to me.
And you know what? Like what you just said right there, we actually see his daughter's talents, and
yeah, she's kind of a hard ass, really.
Yep, and I foresee like that actually happening, and no resistance against it. Like I think she wants to, like the way she exhibited her strength. I think she wants to go hard like her dad. Like wants to be strong and exhume that she's the strongest. like in her family after her father. I get that sense from her.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, what I'd like to see, I mean, this is clearly like set up for a future storyline. That's something I'd like to see them play out at some point. But I'd also like to see, like, like Timor, just kind of like train her, it's like to a point where it's like, I mean, he's not going to stand in. I don't think he's going to, like, obviously stand in her way. But I mean, I think he's going to try and, like, impart, it's like what his beliefs into her, so that she's familiar with his mindset, before she goes off with Mistress Rielda.
Yeah. And going back to your earlier statement where, you mentioned like, Vale couldn't, tie into his anger to, open his awakening, activate his awakening. And I'm starting to wonder too, like if it's not that Vale can't, I'm wondering if he's holding back and he doesn't, because his anger would probably reveal, even though it's no secret that he's still in love with Krysta. I think his true anger is jealousy and resentment towards probably not only Timor but Krysta for choosing him. And I'm wondering if he's holding that back to not put that out in the open.
I think it's a good point right there. It's like yeah, it's like, I mean, on one hand, it's like, I can understand, like, like him just, not wanting to, like, it's like, embrace his it's like his anger right there, because he doesn't want, like, he doesn't want to, like, face the fact that, okay, it's like, the people they betrayed me and all. It's like that kind of license. But I think you're also right in, like, that kind of in that level of emotion as well. And that's, I definitely think it's a valid point right there.
Yeah, I just can't help but feel like it's going to come out in some sort of way, like more like it's been playful up to this point with him like flirting and that the hand gestures and everything, and Timor's like, hey, stop. But I truly believe, I'm like, dude, this guy is like really creeping on her hard and not letting up. And I know they're old friends and everything, but come on, bro. Like, I feel like in each chapter, she's always telling you no. And he's genuinely like jealous of Timor, even though he's got the recognition. He's the famous one. That's not what he wanted. He even always like kind of, I guess, downplays himself as a hero. He's like, nah, dude, like I did what I had to. I mean, I love to fight, and I just wanted to, kick some ass, and I just happened to save people while doing it. He's not gloating about it. Whereas, like, yeah, I get Timor's, jealousy in his own right, and he's actually blatantly, put it out there and made it known. Like, I was equally as involved in that mission and that fight, to where I'm getting no recognition of, and that's what his jealousy is all about. But and he lets it out even in the most passionate and emotional manners, especially through their fighting. But with Vale, I'm wondering if he's like almost like constipation or something. Like his issue is he's holding back. Like, yeah, he let off that big spirit bomb, and that's quote unquote killing him. But like, he's so powerful, I think he just has bad gas and he just needs to let all that power out, and he's not doing it because he's not tapping into his true rage.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, Krysta kind of like says that early on in the second volume, which is, you got to let the venom out. It's like after, like, like she calls him out for, like, like saying, yeah, I see what you're doing here. It's like, try put it with all like the talk and the handsy stuff.
Yeah. And by doing so, he might risk losing his best friends, and I think that's what he's afraid of. Mm-hmm. That's just what I've gathered so far, especially reading through this volume. I'm like, oh, dude, like I have a feeling this might be a little like a trilogy, but I really kind of hope they do go more volumes with this series.
Oh, well, I mean, like, judging by what they said in the afterward, because like I appreciate that Dark Horse included the like the interview between creators, like writer Aubrey Sitterson and artist Fico Ossio. It's like in the second volume, because basically it talks about, it has them talking about their inspiration for the series. Because hey, surprisingly, it's not just Dragon Ball here, because they point out, like, the shrink suits that Timor and Krysta wear. It's like, well, like, they seem kind of Evangelion-esque, don't they? So
Yes, they do.
yeah, so I mean, just like it's interesting to see them talking about like their their inspirations, and also the fact that yes, they do plan on doing more about this, because even though this took like 2 years between volumes, like they do plan on doing more about this. In fact, they're referring to this as like the fight verse, which good
That's
for them. Yeah, it's like I like to see them do more here. In fact, they're talking about No One Left to Fight Mega as maybe like as the follow up, which well at the way the volume ends, it's like it's like let's say there's room for like a big like tournament arc to determine like who's gonna be the next greatest fighter in the fight verse after this.
Oh, that'd be
Because
so badass, dude. I mean, that's Dragon Ball right there with the Tenkaichi Budokai tournaments. So, wow.
yeah, it's like because I mean like the final two issues like I mean like they show I mean yeah we get like zombies, we get them fighting against we get the Timor and Vale doing their power meld against the it's like against the Hierophant, who actually his like it's like I crave death shtick from the first volume actually gets better focus here. And I like the bit where they basically say where the Hierophant basically says, yeah, you're gonna use one of your special name techniques to finish me off. And they're like, no, it's like we save those for the warriors.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass right there. As is the final issue, which is basically like, the big, like big last battle between Timor and Vale. And I gotta admit, this is pretty great. In fact, one thing we haven't talked about this series is that, oh my god, the art for this series, I mean, like from beginning to end, is utterly fantastic. I mean,
Oh,
Fico
dude.
Ossio like knocks it right out of the park, in both volumes. And yeah, he gets lots of chances like to flex what he can do. It's like in volume 2. I mean, like yeah, it's like he makes the whole like inside the body art like fight scenes like work pretty well, and also like the big burly like Timor versus Vale rash at the end, like that's got real heft to it. I mean, like yeah, it's like we understand what Sitterson is selling here, and it's not bad, but Ossio just really it's like makes you feel it. It's like on the page.
Yeah, let's just say after I bought and read this volume, I actually ordered each of the special edition connector cover, the individual issues.
Ah,
I ordered those from Midtown Comics, and dude, I love his artwork, dude. I've said this before when we spoke about No One Left to Fight Volume 1, but I love the color. I love the color palettes in this series, and just how everything is colored and it pops off the page, and just how dynamic like the fighting sequences are, because they do remind me of Dragon Ball manga. And of course, like if you read a lot of manga, like the art kind of sticks in these panels. I don't want to say boxes, but they're panels in a certain way. And yeah, they might do certain pages where characters look like they're popping outside of the panels, but in the US, like the popping out of the panels technique, I feel like is used more frequently. And to actually see that in this comic book series, like it does literally feel like it's popping off the pages, to where like, man, I wish this was an 80s comic, to where like it came with free 3D glasses and I could see it popping off the page. But yeah, I like his stylization of the characters, like from their facial expressions to the fight sequences, really amazing. And of course, like a lot of detail, like I myself like to draw and illustrate characters as well, but I could really learn to strengthen my background art and perspective. And when I see the background detail done in this series, like it's lot to look around and see, almost like I'm trying to find Waldo almost. Like you just notice a bunch of like details in the back, especially when they're in the forest and there's like the dancing mushrooms and stuff. Like man, very beautiful artwork.
indeed. It's like
And I-
it's
and I-
fantastic.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's like it's fantastic work. It's like and I really look forward to seeing what what he does next with this series, because even though it's like because between like these two volumes, he's also been doing some work for DC as well. He did a Mr. Miracle miniseries that I haven't read. He did do some pitch in work for Grant Morrison's Superman and the Authority miniseries,
Okay.
which it was all right, but you can tell that with No One Left to Fight, he was taking his time with this. He wanted to make this look as good as it possibly could.
Yeah, because I was about to make that comment before you said it. Like, I was like, man, I wonder if he's done any, cover art or projects for like the other companies. Like, I'd like to check that out. But yeah, I mean, based off what you just said, like if he's able to, take his time, and this is a passion, genre for him. Of course, there's going to be like that level of excellence. Like, not saying his work isn't excellent for any other art job that he's commissioned to do, or other series that he's working on, but when you're working on something you truly are passionate about and love, like you actually see that on in your work, and you see that in the pages of your favorite comic book artist. But I do see a passion pop out of these pages as I read this series.
Agreed. So yeah, it's like I know that when we know that Sitterson and Ossio, it's like have got plans for this series. It's like I kind of hope that it doesn't take like another 2 years for them to get to it. I mean, it's like, hey, if you want to do that big ass like Budokai martial arts tournament, then yeah, it's like I want to see that here. So
Yep. I feel it's coming. But yeah, as you said, with the kind of, Dragon Ball, fight fan service, like the transformations, I always love like transformations in like a anime, you know, fight genre. And the melding or their version of fusion where they become Vamor, really
mhm.
awesome. But man, the final fight sequence, like when they're both like in their quote unquote
Going all out.
Super Saiyan mode, going all
Mhm.
out, and there's just like massive fireballs like lighting up the sky, and they look like they're genuinely trying to kill each other. Like, man, that was a fantastic like last issue, man.
Yeah, it's like, and I I think I kind of like how they left things a bit ambiguous. It's like at the end. I mean, it's not really a cliffhanger. It's not like like complete closure that you get. But yeah, it's like I like how they left it open ended. It's like for you to like determine like what went on, but also just to let us know that hey, it's like there's still more to come. And it's like I I'm all for that. It's like I mean, it's like I may not be like the biggest Dragon Ball fan in the world, but I definitely appreciate what Sitterson and Ossio are doing here. So I kind of want to see what where they're going to go with the stuff they set up in the second volume. It'd be great if they don't take like 2 years to get to that, but it's like I realize they also got to eat in the meantime as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with you too. Like the way things were left like ambiguous, and we don't necessarily know what's going to pan out. But at the same time, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball or any of those type of anime, it's like, I can expect either a wish or like teleportation, or some type of like, uh, uh, um, don't, ticket, get out of jail free card, so to speak, where, yeah, I have my suspicions of how things are going to get set up in the next one. Um,
Or maybe they'll just actually let him rest. It's like because I mean like, the series does seem like it wants to do things differently than its inspiration.
And you know what? I can kind of agree with I kind of agree with that as well, just because, you know, I I was still fuzzy on who the big bad of this whole thing is. And it seemed to be the Hierophant, which, we got the results of that, we got the whole results of that whole, fight. And so like it is my suspicion to the formula going to of what I just said, is that going to continue on with 3, or will I get something different to where like, oh, this is quite surprising, it doesn't follow that kind of shonen formula, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I kind of hope that's. I mean, they've shown a willingness to buck the shonen trend, with this series. So I hope they continue that for whatever the next series is, whether it's going to be like the fight tournament, or if we're going to get the Billy Von Katz miniseries that Sitterson keeps threatening us with at the end of each volume.
Okay.
Cool. Sounds great, guys. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time, Jason?
Okay. Well, assuming everything goes as planned right now, it's like I will have I'll do something like I should have done like a lot sooner than I have in this. It's like in this podcast's like 14-year history, but it's like, but even if that doesn't pan out, then I'll likely be talking about Ryoko Kui's other works, besides her masterpiece, Delicious in Dungeon. And
all right, cool.
Yeah,
sounds
and
good.
So it's like looking forward to it, and also thanks again, Myron, for joining us for this. Like I appreciate your perspective, your Dragon Ball influence perspective on this.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, it was a pleasure being on and being able to talk about this. And I hope there's companies out there like NECA listening, because I would really love some merchandising, from this franchise.
Hell yeah!
All right, and we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters, everyone.
Good evening.